else seemingly out of business, we need somebody to carry on the idea of their MFD pickups, and 916 Pickups is prepared to do exactly that. This is in a P format, but he can make them in whatever, and interestingly enough, his preferred way to do it is with these large disc neodymium magnets instead of ceramic, but he can still do ceramic. This pickup was provided for me to demo and to test, and I get to keep it in return for the sound samples in the video, called MFD, or Magnetic Field Design, which was a Leo Fender invention, funny enough. And apparently his idea was to expand the amount of magnetism that actually comes out of the pickup. Now, don't have a G&L, and I've only played little bits of G&Ls in stores, but I can tell you this pickup is wound in the 8K range, which sounds very low output, but it's huge. It has a ton of output. I recently made a video on my channel where I compared it to an Alnico 5 70s style pickup by the same manufacturer, 916 Pickups, which is wound in the 10K range. And this has a whole lot more output because it's neodymium, and also because of this design. Now, one thing I'm curious about, and that makes these videos a lot of fun, is to see whether the MFD design really does much, or if it's all the neodymium doing the work here. One cool thing I can tell you right off the bat is that this type of pickup is very forgiving as far as string alignment. And what I mean by that is this is a very cheap bass. It is not routed as cleanly as a Fender, and you can see that none of these strings land where you would expect them to, but they all have the same volume with the pickup height that I've got set up here, and they none of them, even plucking it that hard, don't lose volume by coming away from the pole piece there. So these magnets on the underside are very strong. I would say there's probably very little loss in magnetism between these two. Like if you had a string that literally landed here, it would probably still be okay. Now Matt has an alternate MFD design that has smaller slugs, whatever you want to call them, these screws, and he's got 2 per string, and they're set around a string similar to an old Alnico Fender pickup, where you will have a magnet on either side of a string. That's usually reserved for the PJ style, so that's pretty interesting. That should be tested one day as well. He made me another neodymium split coil style pickup under a soap bar, and it's in a bass that's not anywhere close to this. So this isn't going to be super scientific, but I can get an idea of 2 different neodymium split coils with different designs and see how they compare. So let's play some lines, shall we? Well, that's pretty eye-opening. These are neodymium, and they have a slightly different magnet shape, but they have 2 steel poles for each string under the cover, and this neck pickup is wound like 13.5K, and it puts out less overall output than the MFD, and the distance from the strings is actually very similar. I should note that this is an active bass, and I have bypassed the active electronics. So yeah, both basses were using nickel wound strings. That one has Ernie balls. This has Diodarios. They're pretty similar, but I still think this is a decent comparison to show you what the MFD style does. This is something I love about P basses, is that they can do anything, and you just pick whether you want a vintage style pickup or a modern style pickup, and you completely voice the whole thing in a different way. I will quickly play something on the heavy 70s Alnico 5 pickup with some flat wound strings just to show you. But I wanted to talk about, there's a lot of modern P bass pickups out there, including like active EMG P bass pickup, which is sort of the pinnacle of the modern, because it doesn't really sound anything like the old school ones at all. A lot of these modern style ones, even the Seymour Duncan quarter pound, is still in that sort of camp because of the frequency spectrum, this big scoop, and extended highs. That's one of the biggest things, is the extended highs. Now this pickup gives you a lot more frequency than a whole bunch of P bass pickups out there, so you got to decide whether that's for you. I'm leaning into it with this particular bass because the other's got flat wounds and an old school pickup. This one's got nickels and a modern style pickup. Very different animals. But what this has versus some of the other ones, we'll take the DiMarzio Relentless that was in this bass prior to now. That pickup has even more output than this because they're using 2 ceramic bar magnets per half of the pickup, which gives you a ridiculous amount of output. So much so that I don't think that's... I don't know. It's so hard to match that. It's crazy. It's too much. The 2 magnets gives it a humbucker character, more so than a normal P bass, and it has a very kind of pronounced mid-range. Now, if you use something like this Joyo Tidal Wave or a Sansamp bass driver, and you sort of carve out those mids, it's pretty nice. Again, we're talking about the Relentless. This has significantly less harsh mid-range than that Relentless pickup. Also, DiMarzio Model P. So, I'm not saying it's scooped. If you compare this to a Duncan quarter pounder, this has a lot more mids. So, it's very full, very even, but you will notice that it's got some extended treble end that is not harsh by any means. It doesn't sound like an active EMGP or something like that. So, all that being said, let's play something funky and compare this to the other bass.